So thanks everyone for joining. Today is our eighth session in the course, so only two more after this. But today we're going to really dive into how social media impacts your SEO campaign. So just so you see where we are in the course, earlier this week we went over competitor analysis, where we were more focused about the people we're looking to outrank in a search engine results page. But for this session, we're going to take a step back and look at our own campaign to see how we can leverage social media to really have a beneficial uh, impact on SEO. So for today's roadmap, first we're going to answer the question, does social media impact SEO? And I'm sure you know that the answer is yes. Otherwise, this would be a very short session. After that, we're going to talk about how social media impacts SEO, and then we're going to get into the connection between paid social promotions and SEO, and then how social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube are also search engines. And then after that, really going to give you some actionable steps on how you can optimize your social media profiles and social media presence for optimal SEO. And then after that, just going to leave you with some key takeaways, and then of course Q&A and homework towards the end of the session. So I would like to start off with this stat. There are every minute 571 websites created. So who's good with math? No one? So I was just curious to see if someone could calculate how many websites is that per hour, how many websites is that per day. I can't do that quick math, but I know that's a ton of websites. Now, some of these websites, probably the majority of them are low quality and not very good, but still that kind of gives you an idea that in 2018, the type of competition and a type of barriers you have to really stand apart from other websites out there on the web and to get more visibility for your website and your brand. And as I've mentioned several times during this course, rankings are important. There are a sign, or improvement in rankings are a sign that you are making some headway with your SEO campaign. But SEO is not just about rankings. Really, the goal here is to increase your online visibility for your brand and for your business. So that includes not only your website, but your other online properties such as your Facebook business page, your company's Twitter profile, and so forth. So does social media impact SEO? Yes, it does. And just some things to remember that Google does not allow social signals from social media to directly affect rankings. But there has been a strong correlation between a strong social media presence and your website rankings in Google. Now I'll talk about, like I mentioned here in the first bullet, Google doesn't factor these signals in directly for your rankings, but other search engines do, which I'll get into later in the session. But social media, it provides another platform for marketing professionals such as yourself to put out content about your brand, your business, and put it front and center for your target audience. So how does social media impact SEO? Well, here's a chart that I pulled from Statista, and it shows you the number of users per for each social platform. So we can see here, Facebook is in a billion, so I believe that's a little bit over 2 billion. WhatsApp, surprisingly, is number 2 at over 1.3 billion. And then you can see here pretty much, all the popular platforms. Messenger, that's part of Facebook. They're actually third. And then you see here Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and Snapchat. But the key takeaway here is that there are a ton of people on social media. I mean, I'm sure all of you have at least one personal social media profile. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So if you're not using social media as a avenue to promote your business, promote your company, then you're definitely missing out, because there are a ton of people here on these social platforms, and there's a good chance that you're going to find your target audience somewhere. And there are popular platforms that aren't even listed here, like LinkedIn. So just keep that in mind, that these are just maybe the top 10 or so. So there's an old saying, I'm sure maybe a fisherman came up with this one, but it goes, the bigger your net, the more fish you catch. And that's pretty easy to understand. And the reason why you want to, become active on social media is that it does boost your brand awareness. The bigger the net that you cast out with your marketing, whether that's focusing on social media, whether that's doing, SEO, content marketing, email marketing, the more people that you can, where you can grab their attention. And social presents a tremendous opportunity to tell the world about your brand. We just went over the different user numbers, but like I said, depending on your target industry, there's probably a social media platform out there where you can find your target customer. And so the way this brand awareness, how is this connected with SEO? So when people become aware of your brand, so let's say that, maybe later this evening when you're at home, you're on your Facebook feed and there's a promoted post from a brand you never heard of. And, maybe they're a clothing brand, and, maybe you're not in the shopping mode for new clothes right now. Let's say 2 or 3 months from now, you are. And you see this brand, in Google, in the Google search results. Well, there's a good chance that you'll probably click on them because you're already familiar with them. Maybe you looked at their posts before, maybe you see a few of their posts. And so that brand recognition really helps you when it comes to standing out from other companies in these search results. And so this is all connected to something that we went over before called the click-through rate. And that is a direct SEO signal. The more people that click on your website versus others for a given search term sends positive signals that your website is the best, provides the best response to that user intent. So, and yeah, just keep this in mind. So this is a stat: 76% of Facebook users leverage the platform to find new content, and that includes content from brands big and small. So take this example. Let's look at this example. So let's say, does anyone here run, like jog or anything for exercise? Jana? Cool, Jana, me too. So Jana, let's say maybe you're in a market for a new pair of running shoes, and you do a Google search for running shoes, and this is what comes up at the top. Now tell me, of all of these listings, which one are you probably most familiar with, and more likely to click? Nike, right? Why Nike?
The cheapest Nike shoe.
Sure, cheap is Nike, so that's a very good point. Why else would you choose Nike? Because I mean, you look at Nike, it's $39.99 US. You look at Under Armour, it's $39.99 as well. So what are some other reasons you would choose Nike?
It's famous.
Famous, exactly. And the reason why they're famous is because they have been doing advertising for probably over 50 years now. So their brand is, definitely out there front and center. So all you have to do is say Nike and people instantly know what you're talking about. Under Armour does a good job too, but they don't quite have the same brand recognition at this time as Nike does. So, and really the key takeaway here is when people become aware of your brand, they're more likely to click on your website in the search results. So yeah, so if we were to do a search for running shoes, there's a good chance that these Nike listings would get a good percentage of the clicks. And then if we even look over here, we have roadrunnersports.com, zappos.com, brooksrunnings.com, and adidas.com. So if I were looking at this, I'll probably choose Adidas just because I know what I can expect with a pair of Adidas running shoes. So any questions there? Okay. So to continue on the point about boosting brand awareness, these branded searches can be highly beneficial. So let's say that Nike was a new company. Maybe they started 5 years ago, but they've done a great job promoting their brand on social media. So a good, people around the world are familiar with them. And so they know that Nike does very, they sell very high quality running shoes. So let's say that people, instead of just typing in Nike or just typing in running shoes, they type in Nike running shoes. And so over time, as people begin to search this phrase Nike running shoes, Google and other search engines are going to associate that brand Nike with the phrase running shoes. And so how this works is that over time, Nike will also rank well for just the general phrase running shoes. So that's why brand awareness is really important when it comes to SEO. Now, another example that's a little closer to home. So let's say that people started Googling for brass animals, New Orleans brass band. So, along the same lines that over time, if people are searching for this and then people are actually clicking through to the Brass Animals website, Google and other search engines are going to start associating the Brass Animals brand with this phrase, New Orleans brass band. So that if someone just types in New Orleans brass band, then Brass Animals would have more visibility for that search. Is that clear, that point there?
Yes.
Okay. So the second way that social media impacts your SEO. Social media profiles can also rank in search engines. So we're going to look at an example, Alberto's Pizza. Does anyone go there?
No.
No, are they not very good, or they're just not in your area?
I think they are only based in Manila.
I see. Okay. But yeah, so let's just look at this example. What's that?
We are in the Visayas region, but the street address of Alberto's is Visayas also.
I see, yeah. It says this is Visayas Avenue, so maybe that's just a street in Manila. Who knows? Let's see here. So I did a Google search for Alberto's Pizza Visayas. So yeah, you're right. It's in Manila. We're actually, yeah, Quezon. Is it Quezon City?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you see when you do this search, so let's look what comes up. So they have two different Facebook results. So their main Facebook page and then the About tab from their Facebook page. And they also have a search result from Zomato, which is just basically a restaurant rating website. They have this Foozap. So I'm guessing this is another website that lists different restaurants based on the category. They have a listing from Foursquare. And yeah, just, TripAdvisor is also kind of a social media site, and then Yelp. So most of these are actually social media websites. You notice that their actual website doesn't even rank if they do have one. It looks like they use their Facebook page for their website. But it just shows you that if someone doesn't find your website, your brand's website, it's a good chance that they can also come across you on Facebook or Zomato if you're a restaurant directly from the search results page. So that's how social media profiles can rank. Yeah, so we see here, this is their Visayas or their Quezon City branch. And there's something about these reviews that we're going to go into a little bit later. And so in addition to profiles, your actual post can also rank depending on the difficulty of that search phrase. So in this example, this is actually one of the phrases I target for my company, Digital Marketing Baytown, which is a smaller city outside of my city, Houston, but still a pretty substantial population. So we see here, we have these different search results, but this little video here is actually from YouTube, and I actually posted it a few weeks ago. But you can see here, this is actually my video, and I'm targeting Baytown Digital Marketing, Baytown SEO. And you can see here, outside of the maps and then these few directory listings results. So I'm actually, number 6. So that's actually pretty good, and it hasn't been even a month since I posted this video. But the key takeaway here is I don't want to pat myself on the back, but to show you that individual posts on YouTube or on Facebook, on Twitter can actually rank depending on the keyword difficulty. So any questions there? Okay. So let's go back to presentation mode. So social sharing can also drive traffic to your website. So great content, when you produce great content and you put it out there on your social media platforms, you position it to get likes, shares, and retweets, which are all positive signals. And so when you share your content, so let's say if you posted a blog article on the Brass Animals website, it's really good, and you put it out there on the LinkedIn company page, you put it out there on the Facebook business page, and you start getting people to like it, getting people to comment on it, there's a good chance that people actually, if you're following best practice, people actually click through to your website. And that's really, one of the key benefits of being active on social media is that you can drive traffic to your website, to your own properties. And so, on that note, there's, when you're talking about online marketing, there are your own properties and then there are third-party properties. So your own properties are things that you create yourself. So like your website, some people, they might create micro websites, on a particular topic related to their brand. So that's something that you create yourself, your own property. A third-party property would be something like your Facebook business page, your Twitter profile, your LinkedIn company page, or your YouTube profile. And so the reason why you want to drive traffic from your third-party property, your third-party profiles, so in this case, driving traffic from Facebook to your website, is that let's say in 10 or 15 years, we don't know if Facebook will continue to exist or YouTube will continue to exist. So if on your YouTube page you have uploaded 500 videos and then YouTube just kind of goes defunct, next year, well, all those videos kind of go down the drain, right? So you're gonna have to figure out somewhere else to publish those videos. But if you've been consistently driving traffic from YouTube to your website, well, people are now familiar with your brand. They don't need to find you necessarily through YouTube. So that's why it's always important to drive traffic from your third-party properties. And so that's one benefit of posting on social media, good content on social media. Another benefit is that if you're posting good content, and we went into this example during our content session, or our session on content, people are probably going to share it with their own their own user groups. And when you hear about people, when different content goes viral, this is what people mean is that, someone found something really interesting, they shared it with everyone on their Facebook profile, and then people on their Facebook profile shared it with everyone on their Facebook profile, and then it just kind of grows exponentially over time to where, one post can have 1,000 shares within a day or two. So that's why that's one other benefit of pushing your content through your social media channels. Any questions there? Okay, let's keep going. Social media makes backlink acquisition easier. So we've already gone over why backlinks are important for SEO. Well, social media is another opportunity to get organic backlinks to your content. But how? So, of course, when you're posting content to your platforms, your different social platforms, you're pretty much putting your content in front of all of your followers. So let's say if you were able to build the Brass Animals brand to have 100,000 followers on Facebook or Twitter, well, that's a lot of people that are seeing your content each time you post it. And so it would be a good idea to put that content and use social as a channel to increase the visibility. Targeting the right platforms and relationships with influence can lead to truly organic backlinks. So it's not just the matter of posting content and having followers, but you also want to kind of connect with people in your industry who are influencers. So you want to connect with different, if we're looking at Brass Animals for an example, a good strategy would be to connect with different, I guess you would call them lifestyle bloggers, current event bloggers, kind of people who report and write about the music scene in different cities around the country, because they're gonna have the right audience that Brass Animals is looking for when looking to get more gigs through your content and through your social media activity. So that's what I mean by networking with influencers. So just as you would network in person, you would also do that online through social media. And so this little graphic here, you can kind of tell, it shows you how posting something on social media can lead to a backlink. So let's say next week, Jarek, you post an article on the Brass Animals LinkedIn page. So then someone comes across that article and, they note that it has a really good headline. So they figure out if it's worth sharing. And let's say the answer is yes, it's really good content. And maybe it's something about corporate event planning. So something that Brass Animals doesn't do, it's not a service that Brass Animals provide itself, but if Brass Animals is looking for corporate event gigs, then people will also want to know about different aspects of corporate event planning. So that's why that would be a good content topic. So, and let's say someone shares that. Let's say a few people share that, and within their networks, they actually have bloggers or someone who writes about corporate event planning. And that person who writes about the corporate event planning, they see the article from Brass Animals, and they also decide that, wow, this is really good content, really in-depth and really helpful for users. And so the next time that content creator writes a blog or writes something for their website, there's a good chance they're going to remember that article from Brass Animals, and they're going to link back to it. And that's pretty much how, without even doing significant outreach, you can build backlinks to your content. And so as we learned, earlier in the course, with these backlinks, that of course leads to improved rankings. So that's how, social media you can acquire more backlinks, and of course backlinks helps with your SEO. So key takeaway here is organic backlinks are a social thing. Backlinks are a social thing. If no one knows about your content, it could be the best thing since, the first book, if no one knows about it, then it's going to be very difficult to acquire backlinks. So anytime you're putting out content, it's very important that you have some type of strategy on how you're going to promote that content after it's published. So any questions there? No? Okay. Let's keep going. Different search engines are impartial to social signals. So social signals, that's just a fancy term for Facebook likes, Facebook comments, retweets on Twitter, pins on Pinterest, and comments. But as I mentioned earlier in the session, Google doesn't really use social signals like that to determine rankings in their algorithm. But Google isn't the only player in the search engine game. You have other search engines like Bing, DuckDuckGo, among others. So Bing, for example, uses your social authority and your social metrics, such as social media followers, as a data point when assigning ranks in the search engine results pages. So, and this is actually a real statement from the team over at Bing. We do look at the social activity of a user. We look at how many people you follow, how many follow you, and this can add a little weight to a listing in the regular search results. So the key takeaway here is that even though Google is the most used search engine, there are still other players out there that do use social activity as a metric for determining your ranking. So that's why that's another reason why it's important to stay active on social media with your brand. Any questions on this point? Nope. Okay. So customer reviews. So your customer reviews can also be visible on different social platforms. And something that Google has started doing is actually pulling reviews from those other platforms and including them in your actual Google My Business profile. So Lupe Tortilla, this is a Mexican restaurant that's close to my place. And you can see here in this little box in red, Google has actually pulled their ratings from Zomato, which is a restaurant rating website, and Foursquare. So let's say if someone, they see this 4.4 and they're like, okay, so let's maybe try to find another one. But they also see these reviews from Zomato and Foursquare, which are, pretty decent. So that might encourage them to actually go to this restaurant because, across different profiles, they have really good reviews. So that's just another way that social media and getting reviews on social media specifically can affect your click-through rate and your SEO. So paid promotions and SEO. So has anyone ever here done a paid promotion on Facebook, like boost the post or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when you boosted the post, did it have the intended effect? Did it get more likes? Did it get more comments?
What?
Yeah, so you said that you've boosted a post before on Facebook. So what happened when you boosted the post?
It comes up a suggested page in Facebook.
Right, exactly. But did that post get more likes? Did it get more shares?
They are more visible in the newsfeed of your target location or your target audience.
Right, exactly. So yeah, and that's really the point of paid promotion on social media, like a social media platform like Facebook. It can amplify your content's reach and visibility. So, Jared, as you probably saw, when you boosted that post, more people liked it, more people saw it. So that's really the goal of social promotion, to get your post in front of more people. So there was a study conducted by Hootsuite. They're a leading social media management platform, and paid promotions can actually double the SEO benefit of organic social promotion. So instead of just posting something to your Facebook page and seeing what happens, if you maybe boosted it with $5 or $10, you can actually double the SEO benefit. Now, can someone tell me, we know that doing a paid promotion, it boosts the visibility, but can someone tell me why that would be good for your SEO?
Because there's a big opportunity for more likes, shares, and
What else? Yeah, that's a good start. Jonah, what else? So if your post gets more likes, more shares, and let's say you had a link back to your website in that post, Jonah, what's another benefit of doing a paid promotion?
Increase the visibility of your website.
Right, increase the visibility, but okay, if more people are seeing that post, they read the post, they like the post, and then you have a link to your website, what is that going to lead more people to do?
Visit
Your website.
Exactly, visit your website. So yeah, so by doing a paid promotion, like boosting a post on Facebook, you get more shares, more likes, but ultimately the goal is to get more traffic to your website. So that's just one of the benefits. So just a tip, it sounds like you guys are already doing paid promotions on Facebook and other social media websites. A little tip is that you can post something, so don't put any money behind it right away, and just see how it performs organically. So if you see that a post, it gets likes, it gets shares, maybe a person or two maybe comment on it without doing any paid promotion, then that's a good sign that if you were to boost it with maybe $10 or so, it'll really it'll help with the social signals. So just a tip there, and that way you don't waste money on posts that wouldn't do well anyway. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. So any questions on that? Okay. Cool. So social media, the next point I want to go into is social media channels or search engines too. So sounds like we're all pretty familiar with Facebook. So Joy, when you go into Facebook, and maybe you're not necessarily trying to find, maybe you're not looking at your news feed, but you wanna find something. What do you do to find something on Facebook?
Search.
Right, exactly, and that's pretty simple, but that's exactly what a search engine is, right? It's a mechanism that allows you to search a database of different types of content and data. So yeah, social media channels like Facebook are, they all also have their own search engines. So since there are search engines, well, it follows that search engine optimization can also be applied to them, right? So just kind of to give you some idea on the search numbers for different platforms. So Facebook, and just keep in mind, these numbers are a little bit old. They're probably 7 or 8 years old. So it's probably a lot more today. So just on Facebook, there are 1.5 billion searches per day. That's a ton of searches, right?
Yes.
On Twitter, there's about 19 billion searches per month. And that's at the time, so this was a stat from 2010. At that time, that was 5 times more than Bing. So, yeah, the Bing search engine. So, yeah, ton of searches. And then on YouTube, that's 3 billion searches per month. So those are search engines, and obviously people are using them. So if you're putting content on these different platforms, then it's worth the time to optimize that content to be found with these searches. And so on the right here, each platform, they have their own little their search bar. Yeah, of course you're familiar with Facebook. That's the one on Twitter. That's the one on YouTube. That's a lot of searches, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mas updated.
And so kind of bringing it back to home with Brass Animals. So, one of the type of gigs that Brass Animals looks for are corporate events. And so when you're kind of trying to figure out, okay, if we're going to create some content around corporate events, you can see what's already been kind of discussed out there. And the reason why I like using social media for content research is that you know what's trending like right away. So if something happened in the news yesterday or even this morning, then it's likely that someone is going to have a post about it on social media. So this allows you to create timely content. And timely content is relevant content. It's something that is relevant to people right then and there. So this is a search I did for corporate events. I just did the hashtag here on Twitter for corporate events. And you can see here, this is just a screenshot of the news tab. And, this is a topic. It looked like it did pretty well. It's the first search result. 5 ways to create brand equity with a corporate event. And so it seems like it did pretty well. It was published, during the summer. And so maybe if Brass Animals wanted to write something on this topic, take a look at this article, look at what they did well. But, as we talked about during our content session, always try to one up or, really 10 up, any content that's already doing well. And so let's say 5 ways to create brand equity with a corporate event. Maybe, you can write 11 ways to create brand equity with a corporate event. And then from there, maybe, let's say that this particular article only used images. You can incorporate some video. You can incorporate, some other types of rich media to make the content better. So that when someone does a search for corporate events next year, maybe in February 2019, it's the Brass Animals article that's showing up #1, not this article from Inc.com. And this is just the news tab. There are also, the top tab is kind of like an aggregation of all the different search results. The latest tab, that will give you the most up-to-date content related to this topic. The people tab, going back to when I went over networking on these different social media platforms, the people tab will kind of give you some influencers that are relevant to that topic, corporate events. So let's say you're looking for people, you're kind of putting together a strategy around corporate events for Brass Animals and how you can get more traction online. Well, maybe one of your first steps is to go on here on Twitter, go to the People's tab, and then see who are the Twitter influencers, and then follow them, maybe interact with their content, retweet it, comment on it, and then maybe try to, over time, build that relationship. That's how you do relationship building via social media. And then photos and videos, exactly as they sound, there are photos and videos related to the corporate events topic. And so, one way I would use the videos tab, look at the type of videos that people are putting together. And if you wanted to create, a video related to corporate event, the videos tab would give you an idea on what's trending and what people like on Twitter. And it's much the same for Facebook, much the same for YouTube, much the same for really any social platform. You can, these social platforms are really good tools to use for content research. So any questions there? Okay. So optimizing your social presence for optimal SEO. So you want to optimize your social profiles. So, and that's obvious, right? So the Facebook business page for Brass Animals, the Twitter profile for Brass Animals, the LinkedIn company page for Brass Animals. You want to keep these points in mind. you want to maintain a consistent image across all of your profiles. So if you're using a logo for the Facebook business page, you wouldn't want to use a picture of Ben on the LinkedIn company page. There's just no brand consistency there. So you want to make sure that you're using a consistent image across all of your profiles. You want to balance relevance and appeal. So you want to make sure that, in that little description about the business on Facebook, for example, that you strike the balance between making the description relevant. So, detailing the types of events that Brass Animals does performances for, but you also want to mix that with a bit of appeal, so a bit of marketing. So what can you write to your target audience that's going to grab their attention? And so maybe that's not even content. Maybe that's a video of a really good performance that one of the Brass Animal bands did at a wedding event. That would probably catch the attention of a soon-to-be groom and bride more so than a paragraph about wedding gigs. So just really understanding your target customer and figuring out what they might want to read or view. You always want to include a relevant link in your profile bio. So, usually on LinkedIn, that's going to be your little description. And most social media platforms, they'll allow you to link back to a website. And usually this is going to be the homepage of your website. But let's say, you have a new effort. You want to get more people to sign up for your email newsletter. So in that case, temporarily, you might link up to your email newsletter sign-up page instead of your homepage. Just really depends on your marketing goals and what you're looking to achieve at that time. So here's an example of a Twitter. This is actually a personal profile on LinkedIn. And you can kind of see some different elements that this guy is doing. So Tim Peters, it looks like he's a director of marketing. So you see here MBA, that's his credential. This is some things that LinkedIn fills in automatically, so you can see the different companies and brands he has worked for. And you can see right away at the top of his LinkedIn description, it says senior management executive with expertise in B2B software, green tech, outsourcing / BPO, and not-for-profit leadership. So right away, if someone is looking to work with Mr. Peters, they know what his specialties are, these different business categories or types of companies. And so if their company can be included in one of these categories, then great. Tim Peters might be a good person to reach out to. If not, then he immediately disqualified himself, which is good for him because that saves time and he can focus only on those business opportunities with high potential. And then after that, he kind of talks a little bit more about himself. So he's highly entrepreneurial. He has a track record of success. And, he talks about he's worked in the for-profit and not-profit. And then you can see here, if we scroll down a little bit further, he kind of gets into detail about the different specializations. So he's really good at managing sales teams, doing public relations, social media, and different things online, including SEO. And then he even provides his tag for Twitter. So let's say if someone wants to connect with him on Twitter and view the different content that he's putting out there, then that's one way that they can engage with him. And then one cool thing he's doing, he actually, it looks like this did a personal video. So in addition to this little bio, this video actually shows him talking. So it's really adds more personality to his profile. And, people can really understand, get a better understanding of what it would be like to work with him and communicate with him. Then, of course, on LinkedIn, you see, these are pretty, automated, but he lists his different relevant positions. So, this is a personal profile, but you kind of want to take the same approach for a company profile on LinkedIn. tell people who you are, what you do, who you work with, and why they should work with you or reach out to you for more information. That's usually the general formula. So any questions there? Okay. And this is something I know some of you might have your own personal LinkedIn profiles. This is obviously something you can do for your own personal brand as well. And so, one other thing you want to do, you want to post updates regularly. So, and this concept of regularly depends on the type of platform that you're targeting or the platform that you're targeting. And so I would tell you ignore Google+. Google+ is actually going, I won't say out of business, but they're removing a tool in the next few months. But so far, it has been a popular platform, but it's not really, there's no reason to build a presence there anymore. So, some of the tools, platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and you can see here, depending on the platform, there are a certain number of times that are recommended to post per day. So you can see here for Twitter, for example, the recommendation is 15 times per day. And I don't know about you, but I don't have time to go into Twitter and post 15 times throughout the day. And so this is why it's important to try to schedule your posts ahead of time so you can batch that work and you don't have to do it, at multiple times during the course of a month or a day or so or something. So yeah, the key takeaway here is, make sure that you're posting regularly and you're posting frequently enough depending on the platform you're targeting. Now, can someone tell me, okay, so I'll phrase the question like this. So let's say that your target market, you want to work with business professionals. Would you also, so where would you put the bulk of your social media efforts at? Let me rephrase that question. That was a little convoluted. So let's say that your target market, your target audience is business professionals. You're B2B, and that's who you're going after. Company, leaders and companies. So of these 5 platforms, which would you think is the best platform to reach your target audience? LinkedIn, of course. So while you might have some presence on Facebook, you might have a presence on Instagram, you probably will want to make LinkedIn your priority. Because remember, it's not just about quantity. So yeah, you can do all of the posting, the suggested number of postings on all of these platforms. But when you start stretching yourself thin, then the quality inevitably goes down. So pick 2 or 3 platforms, but really maybe only drill down and dive deep with one platform when you're starting off. So any questions there? Okay. You want to become a master at creating eye-catching updates. So you want to create viral headlines. You want to use eye-appealing images. So you will use Canva or Photoshop, or if those don't work, you can ask your friend Jarek. He can put together a good photo for you. Number 3, you always want to be assertive when asking for a share. You always want to include a call to action. Don't be afraid to, say, hey, share this with your personal network, or check out more at our website. Include a link to the website. But you always want to tell people what to do with the content that you're posting on social media. Number 4, you want to research which topics have the potential to go viral. And there's a tool I use for that called Buzzsumo, and I'll actually do a demo here in a bit. Are you familiar with Buzzsumo? No? Okay, so good. So we'll go over that here in the next few slides. And then finally, you want to learn the rules of hashtags. It really just makes me cringe when I see people use hashtags on Facebook. And it makes me cringe because I think that's kind of a, obviously they work well with YouTube or Twitter, and they do work well with YouTube, but that's probably just some blanket advice someone read and then they're applying it everywhere. The truth of the matter is hashtags have really no benefit on Facebook. So you want to make sure that, especially as a marketing company, you guys are doing some things with marketing automation and other marketing related services. You want to make sure you know how to format and do a Facebook post. So no hashtags on Facebook, but you definitely want to include them on YouTube and Twitter. So viral headlines. So these are just a few examples that I grabbed when I was putting together this presentation. So, here there are 3 here. So, Jarek, of these 3, what is something that stands out about these headlines? You can just pick one.
The one that has many likes, tweets, and share.
So I'm guessing you're saying this one that has like 14,000 likes.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely stands out. But let's say, so let's say you posted this on your Facebook page, right? So someone would see those likes, but that doesn't necessarily wouldn't be enough for them to click through to the article. If we're just looking at that headline, why, what would cause someone to click through to that article, you think?
Because it's interesting.
It's interesting. What makes it interesting, in your opinion?
Can you change his answer?
Yeah, maybe you don't find that one interesting, but yeah, pick another one.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the one we were looking at, the 40 belief-shaking remarks from a ruthless nonconformist, you mentioned that the headline is interesting, and for some people it very well may be. But what about the headline is interesting? If you were just to read this headline, what makes it interesting?
It's not interesting.
It's not interesting.
I think it was more focused on the number of likes and shares.
Okay, that's fair. So what about these other 2? Do you find either one of these interesting?
The first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
Why? So this one over here, Viral Nova?
Yes.
So Dea, why is that one interesting?
It's the keyword, and when you zoom out and see it, mind blown. It's mysterious.
Yeah, that's
you
a
want
good point.
to click on it.
That's a good point. That's a great point. So yeah, so when you're putting together headlines, guys, and this is not really SEO, it definitely helps out your SEO, but it's kind of more of a general marketing tip. You always want to make your headline draw interest, draw attention. And you're right there. So one of the ways they did that with this first headline is they made it a little mysterious. So, if you read this headline, and when you see this part about mind blown, okay, one of the questions you might ask yourself, okay, why did this blow this guy's mind, or this writer's mind? And you click through to it. And that's really the goal of the headline. You want people to click through to your article. So mysterious is adding some mystery to it is one way to do that. To help you guys out on this other one. So this poor guy, you guys don't think the topic is interesting, but for someone who's a nonconformist, it might be interesting. It's someone that a way that this author has made this headline more click-worthy is he added this number. So whenever you see these numbers in the front of the headline, or really anywhere in the headline, that's a technique used by the author to get more attention. It's pretty much, it's just kind of, it's different from everything else in the headline. Everything else is text, but there's a number here. Another phrase that's belief shaking. So why are these remarks belief shaking? So if you're a nonconformist, you might want to see why this shook this author's beliefs. For the third example here, again, this guy is using numbers, and you know, most people, they want to become great at something. So that's why, okay, 106 excuses that prevent you from ever becoming great. So there's a good chance that one of these 106 might apply to you. It's something that you can apply your own life, right? So yeah, so it tells you right away that, you know, there's something that you could probably learn and gain from this article. And so these are just a few of the techniques that authors use. There's a ton of them. Now, I've seen examples where people use a smiley icon in the article title to encourage more attention. You know, let's say someone might be really nonconformist. So if the general public, the majority of the general public agrees one way about a particular topic, the author would say, well, this is why XYZ isn't correct, and here's why. So of course, if it's a popular topic and this guy is kind of, you know, he doesn't agree, a lot of people will want to know why. And so he might be a complete idiot, and he or she might be a complete idiot and really not have a great argument, but his mission is accomplished. He got those clicks due to his article. And then, you know, just to show that even if he or she is an idiot, they might not, you know, they're going to tell him about why he's an idiot. And so they might leave a comment on his article. And again, his mission is accomplished. He's getting people to engage with his article. They're commenting, and he's really opening up and encouraging debate on that topic. So that's just some of the ways that viral headlines could lead to more traffic and more traction for your content. The second tip here, you want to use eye-catching images. So on the left here, especially if you like oranges, this image is going to catch your attention because, you know, it's a close-up of an orange. I mean, you can literally see the moisture in a slice of orange. So if you're hungry, that's going to catch your attention, right? So that's a good job. Good job done by this particular content creator. On the right here, you know, it stands out because you have the mobile phone and you have this Twitter feed. So, you know, if you're looking for a way to grow your Twitter profile or your profile on Twitter, this is going to catch your attention. And just, you know, I know Jarek is the expert on this, but something that catches my attention is how they kind of have this white text against, I don't know what material this is, but it's like a very, like, you know, the material looks different. It's not like a tabletop or something, right? So that's just something that caught my attention. What do you think, Jarek?
It's leather.
What is it?
It's leather.
Oh, it's leather? Okay. Yeah, I'm not up on my materials, so that's why I have you here. So let's keep it going. So like I mentioned, Buzzsumo is a tool that I use to kind of figure out what's trending and what has the good potential to go viral on social media. So I'm going to do a quick demo. So has anyone ever heard about Buzzsumo? Nope. Okay, so Buzzsumo, they offer a free option, and they also offer a paid option. I would say the free option is, you know, sufficient if maybe you're using this once a week. But if this is something that you start using regularly, then it might be worth it to upgrade to the premium option. Now, when you set up an account on Buzzsumo, there are different things you can do here. So I usually just use the content analyzer. That's just going to kind of give me a big picture of the type of content and the topics that are viral or have a potential to go viral. So I did a search for something very specific, corporate event planning. I mean, honestly, corporate event planning is not the sexiest topic, right? But there are people out there who are very interested in it. It's something they do for a living, for their income. So there is a target audience. And I did a filter by date. So I did all of the articles and content for the past year. But you can see here, you can change the date range. So you can go back as far as 5 years. So really get a comprehensive look at what was trending, what was popular. But anyway, so when you do this search, you see here there are different topics. So, this one, it kind of strikes my attention. How to plan an elegant corporate holiday event. And this is something that's really cool because it has 66 Facebook interactions. So that could have been likes, that could have been shares, that could have been comments. It had 2 shares on Twitter. Then it had 1 Pinterest share. So that tells me they did something really cool with their graphic. So total, it has 69 engagements. So not a ton of engagements, but it tells me that there is some audience out there. If we were to take a look at this article and figure out how we can make it better, then we could probably improve on this number. And so that's one thing. It does have some engagements. So Jana, since we are in December, tell me another reason why this would be a good topic to cover. And the title of the topic is How to Plan an Elegant Corporate Holiday Event.
More events and parties.
Right.
And this,
But why specifically like a holiday event? Right, exactly. It's the holidays. And so that's very timely, right? There's probably people, they're waking up this morning and they're trying to put together the Christmas party for their office. So what they do, maybe they've never done this before, or maybe they're looking for some new out-of-the-box ideas. They're going to Google, they're going to social media, and they're trying to figure out, they're trying to find content to kind of help them through this process. So very timely. It's something that's very useful. And so how would this work with Brass Animals? And I'll open that up to everyone. So if Brass Animals were to publish an article about how to plan an elegant corporate holiday event, how would that help with the end goal of getting a gig for the band? Anyone?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So let's say we took this back to Ben and you say, Ben, I think it'd be a really good idea to write an article about how to plan an elegant corporate holiday event. And let's say that article goes live on the Brass Animals website next Tuesday. So, okay, great. The article goes live. Someone shares it to social media. Someone reads the content. But how is that connected with the end goal of getting a gig for Brass Animals? Any thoughts?
People are probably searching for the term, for the keywords.
Yep. They're probably searching for it. They're searching for it. They're laying on this content article. And then what?
And then maybe they'll start reaching out to you.
Exactly. And to kind of add some more detail there, Dea, so let's assume that the content that Brass Animals publishes, it's great. It pretty much tells them A through C what they need to do and should be thinking about to plan their holiday event party, their holiday event for their office. So one of the things that they're going to need, and one of the things you should obviously include in that, is the entertainment for the party. And you don't want to be overly promotional, but hey, Brass Animals, it's a brass band. We do holiday event parties. So someone can see the connection there that, okay, we have this article about holiday events. We're going to need entertainment. Hey, you guys have already created a good first impression with me. Why don't I contact you to see about your you're offering to come out and perform at our holiday event. So does everyone understand how that's connected? That's how content can lead to a customer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So any questions on Buzzsumo?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and this is going to be one of your homework items to create an account on Buzzsumo. And I would say, you know, it might be good enough just to create a team account. I'm not sure if you would need this individually, but want to make sure that you kind of dive in here and you're able to use this properly. Okay. So back to the presentation. I know we're getting close to time, so I'll try to put a little pep in my step here. So you want to optimize your site content for social sharing. So what does that mean? Well, you're going to use headings, subheadings, and calls to action. So nothing new. This is something we've covered several times in the course so far, but you want to make sure that if you post something online to your Facebook page, for example, that the heading that you use is eye-catching. It draws attention, you know, based on some of the things we just went over in the previous slide. You want to include attractive images. So typically when you post something from Facebook, especially from WordPress, Facebook is going to pull the image automatically if you have everything set up correctly on your WordPress site. And so you want to make sure that the images that you're using aren't low quality. They're good. They are going to attract attention. So think about that orange, that image of that orange slice to kind of give you ideas on the type of images that you should be using in your content. You want to set up social sharing buttons. And WordPress makes this very easy. I know you guys are using a WordPress website. You can simply just go and install a social sharing plugin, and it'll set up the buttons for you. Now, sometimes out of the box, those plugins, they might look a little awkward. So if you see that that's the case, or if the social sharing plugins don't look like you want them to, then you might want to employ the help of a developer to kind of do some custom designing with that plugin so they look right or look according to your specifications. So here's an example of a social sharing buttons. So that was one example, the horizontal. Then you had on the second example, they were vertical. And then on that third example, you saw the screen got smaller, and that's how it will look on mobile. So you want to make sure that you have that set up on your website. The next tip, you want to keep the social and social media. So social media was created for people to be social, to connect with their friends, to connect with their loved ones, you know, who may live in their area or, you know, at a distance. It's also a way to meet new people that share your common interests. So you want to engage with influencers in your industry. So we have already talked about the importance of using social media to network with influencers in your industry. So you want to make sure you keep that in mind. And when I say engage, I don't mean, you know, hitting up you know, maybe Bill Gates or someone, or Elon Musk, and saying, hey, Elon Musk, I'm your biggest fan. Why don't you invest in my company? No, that's not how you network, right? That's not how you would network in person. Instead, you would maybe say, you know, maybe someone's probably managing their social media accounts, so it probably wouldn't be them. But let's say if it's a lower level influencer, you can say, hey, so-and-so, I really like the article that you wrote about XYZ topic. You know, I love it, and I've shared it with my followers here on Twitter. I also work in this industry. Check out my website when you get a chance. So, you know, that's one way, you know, you can open that introduction. Maybe you share their articles, you know, several times before you reach out. You just want to build it gradually and not just go straight for the kill, because that might creep some people out. The second tip here, you want to take part in relevant conversations. So in that example, when I did the hashtag search for corporate event planning on Twitter, you know, if you see that there are recent posts that are relevant to what you're doing with Brass Animals, hey, maybe you want to, type in something or contribute to that conversation. If we're doing that from the Brass Animals website, some people are going to come later and say, hey, who are these Brass Animal guys? And then that's how you can drive traffic to your website. Twitter also has what they call Twitter chats, live Twitter chats, where some influencer, they will have a chat about a particular topic, and everything is live, right? And if you're invited to one of those Twitter chats, it's real time. It's like having a conversation on your Facebook Messenger. It's a real-time chat. So if you are able to find one of those conversations that are relevant, make sure that you contribute to it. And, if you're not sure how to find relevant conversations, so I just showed you the example of Twitter. You can use a tool like Google Alerts to alert you of different searches or different conversations that are going on different platforms on the web. Hootsuite is also really good for this, and Hootsuite is more targeted to social media. Staying on the point of staying social, you want to be responsive to reviews, comments, and shares on your social profiles. So if someone reviews your business, good or bad, you want to make sure that you respond to that review. And it's really important when to respond to bad reviews, because if someone, a potential customer comes and they read a bad review on your Google My Business page or your Facebook business page, but they see that someone from your team, in a professional manner responded to it, then that's going to kind of clear their doubts about your service or about your offering. Because everyone knows you can't make every customer happy. You can't make everyone happy. So maybe that's just a case that particular customer was just unrealistic. But by you reviewing it or adding or responding to the review, you show that you were proactive in making the customer happy or trying to rectify the situation. And the same for comments. You always want to make sure you respond to comments on your social media post. You want to avoid being overly promotional. So I'm sure you've seen companies where all they do is promote their service and say, buy, 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 subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. But they really don't add any value. So Jarek, you might look at this company and say, I don't know you guys. Why am I going to buy, something from your website or, even go to your website? You haven't provided any value of me to justify me spending my time to go to your website. So a good rule of thumb is that you want to keep it 80-20, right? So 80% of the time, you want to provide good content that's, informational, educational, that's actually providing value. And this is really how you build your brand equity and make sure that you're not being overly promotional, but hey, you're actually providing some value before asking for the sell in that 20% of the time. So that's the 80-20 rule. You want to promote two-way communication. So you can do that through, asking questions on your social media page. So for example, going back to the, planning a corporate holiday event, maybe something you can ask on your Brass Animals Facebook page is, hey, for all our followers, what are you planning for your holiday event this year? And then, if your followers see it, they might, comment on that post. But that's one way that you can encourage communication, because maybe someone will read another person's comment on your post and say, hey, I never thought about that. That's a great idea. And then maybe they'll ask them clarification or for more details. And that's how you can take one post, but pretty much your followers will drive the conversation. So your work is pretty much done. You might just want to make sure that, from time to time, no one's doing or saying anything inappropriate. So that's one way to promote two-way communication. Another way, you can do polls, you can do surveys on your social media profiles to just get your followers more engaged. Any questions there? Nope. So using an Open Graph protocol. Has anyone ever heard of Open Graph?
Can
No.
she take
Bathroom break.
Say it one more time.
Bathroom break.
Oh yeah, sure, go for it.
Let's just go.
So Open Graph, and I'll keep it going because I know we're very short on time. But Open Graph is, basically a technical implementation on your website that allows you to control the look and feel of social media posts when you post them directly from your website. And basically, Open Graph, it structures your content info in a way that gets more clicks and shares. And so you've probably seen, in your experience using Facebook, when sometimes a company posts something on their social media page, but it doesn't look quite right. Maybe the image is really pixelated, or the dimensions don't look right, or maybe the headline is missing or something like that. That's all managed by your Open Graph protocol. And so this is just an example, and this is something, you can use a plugin, but if there are any custom work that's needed, this is something that you might want to ask a developer to help you out with. But this is the actual code for your Open Graph that manages how it looks on the Facebook business page. You can see here, there's code that manages how the image looks. There's code that manages how the title looks. There's code that manages how this description looks. So really every aspect of your post is managed by this Open Graph snippet of code here. Any questions on Open Graph? Nope. Okay. And then you want to leverage automation tools. So there are different paid social automation tools out there like Hootsuite, which I already mentioned before. There's Buffer, Sprout Social, TweetDeck, and so on. These are different tools that you can use. I would say Hootsuite is probably the most popular, but most of these tools, they usually offer a free trial. So if you're going to really be doing a lot of social media marketing, I highly suggest that you pay for one of these tools because it'll make it a lot easier, and you will be a lot more organized with your implementation and execution. You can also leverage WordPress plugins like Snap, Social Media Auto Publish, and Blog2Social. And what these tools do is, once they're installed onto your WordPress website, once you post something to your blog, it'll automatically go to your Facebook page or your LinkedIn page or your Twitter profile based on how you set it up. So those are really convenient, and they do save time. But you always want to remember that don't rely on these tools blindly. You don't want to just set up these tools and then, especially for number 2, because sometimes these plugins can be wonky and not work the way you expect them to. And I'll give you an example actually from this week for one of my own social media posts. So these are one of the videos that I posted to my YouTube account. And I'm using a tool, it's actually a Chrome extension called TubeBuddy. And what it does, it allows you to post something directly from YouTube. So let's say I publish a video on YouTube, it'll post directly to my Facebook business page. Now, can someone tell me what's wrong with this post? And it might not be obvious, but tell me something you think might be missing.
A caption.
Caption? Yep. Yeah, so a caption, title, you see this video here, but what is this video about really? It's just if someone's not familiar with me, it's just this guy here in a circle and a map, but I have no idea what this video is about, so I'm probably not going to click it. So that, it defeats the point of posting it on my Facebook page. So you're right there. So something, I need to watch out for is actually adding a title to the post to make sure that people are clear on what this video is about. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And so the key takeaway there is it's great to use these tools, but you always kind of want to cross-check to make sure that they look right and everything is up to your specifications. And so I'm I'm going to wind down the session now. So some of the key takeaways I really want you to leave today with is that correlation does not mean causation. So just because you, and this is really in reference to Google, but just because you're active on social media doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see positive improvements with your rankings. It, based on what we've covered in the course, it takes a lot more than that. But social is a fundamental part of a comprehensive online marketing strategy. And as we've seen, indirectly, it can have a positive impact on your SEO campaign. Quote for the day: every aspect of modern marketing is based on relationships. And this is from Andy Crestodina. He is the CEO of a large digital agency here in the US called Orbit Media. And pretty much, social allows you to build those relationships, not only with your followers, but with potential followers and customers, and with influencers and your peers in the industry. You always want to make sure that you're networking and building those relationships, because at the end of the day, it's not what you know. You might be the expert at event planning, but if no one knows that you're the expert at event planning, then it really doesn't help. And social media gives you a channel to showcase your expertise and to build relationships with people who are interested. So I want to end the session with that. Now, are there any questions on today's content, or really any content covered in the course so far? Okay. So the homework assignments, so pretty standard. So something new that we're going to be doing for the rest of our time, or the rest of our sessions, are these team assignments. And so this is an assignment that I want you all to kind of team up together with and collaborate on. And, maybe, you can split it up. Someone focuses on 1 week, someone focuses on a second week, and so forth. But I want you all to create a 30-day social media calendar for the Brass Animal social media profiles. And it includes the Twitter account, the Facebook account, and the LinkedIn account. And, in this spreadsheet, it should be a Google spreadsheet. I want you to include the content type, the post headline. So what are you going to use for the headline, the scheduled publish date, and then, kind of figure out what's trending based on what we went over in today's session, and, include content and post about those topics. And of course, make sure that you incorporate the best practices that we went over today, and post frequently. So make sure that you're following those best practices for post frequency. And so, Dea, what was your question?
That would be one post per platform.
Not quite. So, remember we said one post probably would be okay for LinkedIn, but we saw that it's recommended that there are 15 posts a day for Twitter. So I don't expect you guys to do that many posts, but just remember that no, one post per day wouldn't be sufficient for all platforms. Okay? And so the due date for this, if you could send over something or have something, doesn't have to be the complete 30-day calendar by next Friday, just to make sure that I see that you guys are on the right page. Okay, and of course there are going to be some homework questions, but not as many as usual. So, any questions on that? All right. Well, that brings me to the end of the session. Great speaking with you all today. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions on Slack. You all have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care.